Welcome to the first Yin and Fang podcast. I'm Dr. Whit. This is my wife, Heather Farr.
Hello.
And we are excited to bring you our first podcast together. This is something we've talked about for a very long time, as we've had many conversations together as a married couple and raising young kids and living in this world, and just talking about so many different topics. And we plan to bring you this podcast that focuses on a variety of things in life, particularly health and wellness related topics that come through a holistic perspective. Just to share a little bit of background information, I am a board certified prosthodontist, so I don't work on the prostate. I work on dental prosthetics, and that's like a typical 4 years of dental school, then 3 years of residency, really going through the engineering aspects of all things dental reconstruction. I also did a master's degree from a research project in dental materials, and that's my kind of traditional academic background. However, most recently, part of my continued education was a curriculum with the American College of Integrative Medicine and Dental Medicine, which really opened my eyes to looking at healthcare of myself, my family, my patients in a completely different perspective. So that's who I am in a academic training review. And Heather, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I am an attorney. I'm not practicing anymore, but that's where I started out. And then after we had our third baby, I decided to study something that I've kind of always been interested in and I've always used as a method to keep myself healthy. So I studied integrated nutrition with IIN, and I also simultaneously went and got my yoga teaching certification. I did 500 hours, so I did back-to-back trainings. It was a lot, but it was amazing. So now I focus in integrated nutrition and health coaching, and I've kind of left the law behind me unless I need it.
Yeah, that's right. The occasional question.
Yeah, and I also did a little stint. I also ran our dental office for a while, so that was 5 years. So that was I actually got pretty involved in the dental community before I went into nutrition. So I've seen the oral health side of it as well, which is, I think, an interesting part of my background.
Yeah, that's great. I think that we bring differing perspectives. We kind of, as something we talk about, is we overlay our lenses or like our filters of information, and I might look at something one way and you might look at something another way, and then as we talk about it, we kind of output this hybrid version of like our feeling about things or our interpretation of things, and they certainly evolve over time.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think about what we thought about regarding health 14 years ago when we first met versus now. And two of us we've always been into movement. We've always worked out super hard. And been active, and from the outside world we always have appeared very healthy, but the practices we do now and the things we believe in, it's really changed a lot over the last 13-14 years since we've known each other.
There's always something more to learn, which I think is something that we both really believe. And our journey, even though we've always been relatively healthy, we can go into my chronic health stuff, but in the scheme of things, relatively healthy or have been managing it, our perspectives on what actual health is, I think, has changed and deepened in what we understand health to be, from a holistic perspective. And really, I think a lot of people think that they feel good because their normal is not good, but they're used to it, you know? So I think ours has really, what we expect to feel has really changed and evolved and elevated in the last 14 years, I would say. Don't you think?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Certainly. I feel like personally, I mean, we were at a birthday party yesterday and had some birthday cake last night. I hadn't had that in a little while. Like, I feel it. I feel a little more irritable today, a little more like I didn't sleep that well last night because of it. And that's just a good example, just to piggyback off what you said, of you get used to whatever your baseline is.
Yes.
And so if you're living in a way that's, you're really not living in a healthy way, you just get used to that. If you're not like sick, you're not a sore throat, have a fever, you think that's your normal, but like you really, the body can adjust to these different kind of places of health, if you will. Like you can be on different levels, and you certainly, when you start to kind of climb the ladder of health and experience these better feelings, it's really eye-opening when you like drop back down one, because no one's perfect every day. So it is something that's a dynamic process where you're going up and down, and we're always, I think like most people, we're trying to always do our best to like hit our best every day. And, what are we doing today? And what are we doing so that we'll feel good tomorrow? All that stuff.
With ourselves. And we have 3 little boys. I don't remember if you said that at the beginning. So, it's with us personally together, and then also with our children, and kind of observing, things that that some people take for granted and maybe think are normal or common. We kind of look at those things as like, maybe we can optimize. Maybe this isn't actually normal. Maybe it's just happening to a lot of people, and maybe we can feel better. Maybe they can feel better. So I think maybe I can talk about, just, this is kind of on the topic of my own journey.
Yeah. I think that's important to share. I mean, we should each do that. Like, share where your personal journey through health, and I think that will help everyone else to relate.
I think it's a really good point. So I, really young, around 3 or 4, I started getting just full body eczema, and it was very itchy and painful. My parents made all kinds of accommodations for me so that I, wasn't just like itching myself until I bled, really. And that really started off this long journey of lots of different symptoms, but mostly skin related. But it led to all kinds of chronic congestion, ear infections when I was younger, just really feeling uncomfortable. But for me, to what we were just talking about, to go back to that point, it was really the only thing I knew, and it progressed to different things as I got older. Anxiety, acne, depression, insomnia, hives, all kinds of various things. And what happened, my family, actually, my mom was actually very into health when we were younger. She still is, but we started off, there was an awareness. I went and got allergy tested. There was an awareness that food was playing some role. I think there just wasn't as much information in the Western medical community. So I did allergy shots. It was like there was an awareness of food, like maybe take some things out, which my mom did. And she was part of a food co-op, and like we had all organic food. So I had that example, which was great. And there was some accommodating of my food. But at the same time, it was take the steroid, be on antihistamine constantly. They put me, as like a 4-year-old, they put me on 6 months of steroids, which, it was pretty intense. So that really continued to manage my symptoms until I was right after college. I had a pretty high stress job, and my symptoms started getting to the point that I just was fed up, and I was tired of seeing dermatologists and physicians and all kinds of people and allergists, and trying to figure out what was going on, and taking more and more medication. And somehow I came upon a nutritionist who had healed her like full body psoriasis herself using food as medicine. And I just kind of intuitively knew that there had to be something going on there, and that I just couldn't keep going back for this same treatment and, feeling better for like a minute and then feeling worse. But really at this point, I just thought of myself as someone that was sick all the time. So I don't even know what I expected. I don't know if I really felt like I was going to heal all the way, but I was kind of at my wit's end. I just wanted to try something. So I went and met with her, and it was a really profound experience. It really took 3 hours for her to kind of explain the body to me, honestly. And I trusted the process. I took the things, all of my food sensitivity things out of my diet. And, and I cut things like alcohol and sugar and the top 5 allergens essentially.
And wait, and you're how old at this point?
I was 24.
Yeah, so that's like a tough time to say no alcohol and no sugar.
It was very tough. Yeah, it was really tough. And also, I think my friends thought I was crazy, probably. I didn't really know if it was going to work or not, but I didn't really have another choice. I think in my mind, I was just pretty miserable. And what kicked off the going to see the nutritionist at that time, because I'd had all kinds of symptoms up and down, but I had started getting hives from my neck up my face every single day. And it was really uncomfortable. And I mean, I just felt horrible about myself, it's just like red itchy face. So, and I was working in a really high stress job. I don't think that was helping me, but I was just looking for answers. So yeah, I changed my diet, and it took a while for all of the symptoms to be relieved. And I kind of went through some detox, but almost immediately I could feel the inflammation go down. And I just had a knowing inside, I think, that I was on the right path and that I was going to get better. And for the first time, I understood that I had power over what was going on in my body, and that food was contributing to how I felt, and it could also heal the way I felt. And that was a turning point for me. And it just changed. It really changed the way I looked at the body, and it changed the trajectory of my life. I mean, I ended up going to law school after that, so I didn't go straight into this, but I always, from that point forward, I used food in a way that I had never looked at it before. And ultimately later on, I kind of came after we had kids and came full circle back to study it and try to help other people kind of make those connections to their own bodies. So that's kind of my chronic illness story, and why food is so important as a baseline, and how I kind of dove into the holistic space. Because from there, it was just, once I had my eyes open to being empowered in what was happening to my body, you kind of start questioning other things. So then it's like, if something physical is going on with a muscle, okay, well, maybe I want to try, I don't know, massage or acupuncture or some other modality that maybe isn't getting like a muscle relaxer. Not that I've ever used one of those, but the point is, it opened my eyes to kind of question other things. And I think that has carried forward and really driven me down the holistic lifestyle path. So
yeah, that's interesting. It's certainly, I think what we like to bring through all this conversation is that we have different perspectives, and I think our backgrounds shape our perspectives, and yours is very different than mine.
Right.
You grew up in a painful scenario with, like you're saying, itching to the point of bleeding as a kid, and lots of medications that really, I didn't have any of that, or not any of it, but I'd say yours is more extreme from like a youth, and mine was typical. I definitely, like 80s baby type, you know, born in 79, but I could say 80s baby, but like, um, you know, General Mills, like,
Yeah.
took care of my breakfast. Betty Crocker took care of my dinner, and
Yeah.
some school lunch took care of my lunch.
Yes.
You know, just really, wow. I look back when I go, crazy. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't have the same health problems you did, but I didn't. And, you know, lots of activity. We were both super active as kids, which I'm sure helped. Also, I lived right next to the ocean. I grew up surfing a lot. I was in the ocean a lot. I think the salt water and the ocean really is great for everyone. And I think that helped me in my baseline health as a youth. And really, I mean, I didn't have health issues. And I think in a lot of people's eyes, they would say I've never had any health issues really, or maybe a couple here or there, but like kind of getting out of the end of my college experience, you know, I would say in college, it was my first health challenge because I left home. And for me, like, you know, I have got my first like dental cavity.
Oh.
You know, that's like my first like health issue was I had a dental cavity. And it's because I was living in South Carolina and Charleston, going out, you know,
partying,
drinking drinks with like Coke and Dr. Pepper in them, and you know, and not having the right hygiene afterward. Yeah. And boom, after in my first year of college, my roommate's dad's a dentist, and we're like driving home to see him so he can fix my tooth. That was my first health issue. Yeah. And but then after dental school, really, you know, getting into kind of like the, you know, I used to say get into the real world, and my stress, different kind of stress, like stress to make money. Like, you know, this is something I'm sure we'll dive into in a future episode, but you know, how do you look at money? Do you have a healthy relationship with money? And like, I've always had this, like something I've worked on and working on still is like having like an abundant mentality and like knowing, hey, for sure, I'm going to be able to produce the money I need to do to live myself, raise a family, anything like that. But that's when I got out of dental school and I was forced with my first, like, okay, career. I got to make money. I want to be a good dentist. I want to be viewed in a certain way. Like my stress just really ticked up, and I was still like going out on the weekends and, you know, having bad sleep on the weekends. I really just was the first time I ever felt like challenged to where like I had to like, okay, I cannot go out like on a Sunday. Like I'm not participating with like the Sunday fun day because Monday morning I'm like giving people shots in their mouth and drilling on their teeth, right? Yeah. So, and I was very acutely aware of like I have limitations now all of a sudden. Fast forward from there, like another, you know, went back to residency, and so took 3 more years of schooling and then went back into practice. We got married, we started having kids, and then now I have multiple practices at one time, a marriage, children, and like really just like, and we're still very active. Yeah. I was eating like not a good diet, you know, like that. And that's an example of like the evolution. Like back then people look at me and say, you're so healthy. And I'm like, I am so healthy. I go to Tabata and HIIT class and all this class called Sweat, which was amazing. Yeah. But and like, so my physique and my appearance looked good, but when I was working at the hospital, I was having Starbucks for breakfast. Yeah. And when you work in a hospital, there's nothing but fast food around you. Yeah. So that's all you have to eat when you're a hospital employee or a patient, which is crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So then that's when it caught me for real. Was in 2000, and I want to say that was 2017 or 2018. It was shortly after our second
baby.
Yeah, after our second child, where one day I just looked at you and was like, I feel like death. I feel like I'm going to freaking die. Like, I don't know what this is.
We had caught a cold.
Yeah.
But then it turned worse for you.
Yeah, like classic, like the kids sniffling, and then like a couple days later, now I got it. But then it was like, no, this isn't like a cold. This is like something's wrong.
Yeah, you sounded like you were a 95-year-old man coughing with like water in their lungs.
That's what I felt like.
It was literally, it was a little scary.
Yeah, so I had pneumonia. I was admitted in the hospital, and they were like, "Yeah, you have like serious case of pneumonia," and that was like I think my first big thing personally.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think right around then, I was experimenting with like a pescatarian vegan diet. I think right after that is when I was like, okay, I'm gonna get serious about my diet more, like because I was no longer at the hospital working, so I had a little more control. And I was like, so now I'm, instead of going to the 4 fast food places around the hospital, I'm favoring from maybe one of the 20 places around my office, slightly better, but still not good by any means.
Yeah.
And tried like a pescatarian diet, and I think it was a step in the right direction. And then soon after that, you started the exploration into yoga practice, and then integrative nutrition, and then that through just being married and conversations that opened me up to then I came across the integrative dental medicine curriculum.
Yeah.
And that was totally changed my perspective on everything. I went away for the first week. It was like, I can't remember how many weekends it was, like a year and a half of some weekends up in New Jersey, studying with people. And the first weekend is all about like food and environmental toxins, things that you've been telling me that you were learning about.
Yeah.
And these are dentists and health professionals, cardiologists, like ER people, like just a variety of healthcare providers sharing that information with me. And it was like, wow, that's crazy. And it really just propelled me into this process of looking into like starting to read the ingredient labels of like my food, starting to also like I started reading health histories of my patients completely different.
Yes. That was a big shift for you. I remember, because our conversations, a lot of times you would come home and, be talking about someone with some diagnosis, that was a patient coming in with some sort of complicated diagnosis. And I would start talking to you about gut health, and you would get really focused on like, this is their diagnosis. This is what it is. It's related to the eye or whatever it was. And I was like, yes, except also like this has to do with what do they physically look like? Do they look like they eat a healthy diet? Like what are the other things that are going on? I mean, I think you had awareness around like drinking and cigarettes and that kind of stuff. But I think the food stuff the connections weren't all there before you did your certification.
Yeah, for sure. That changed the way that I looked at people. And as like my job, a lot of times I'm assessing people like before they go to surgery. I'm making like an assessment of like, okay, can this person tolerate it? Or like how healthy are they? It's like it's like this general assessment of how healthy is this person.
Yeah.
And I've surveyed my patient charts, and 100% of them say they're healthy. But my average patient is on 7 medications at 65 years old or older. If you're on 7 medications, you're not healthy.
Right.
But we've been tricked to think that we are.
Yeah. Wild. As the doctor, like for a long time, you would look at it that way, right? Like,
yeah. I was like, I also would say, okay, you're taking the proper medications to keep your values in a range that I can say you're safe for surgery, so you're
put you under.
Healthy. Yeah. So then it allows me to just, what's great about dentistry is like people come to you with a problem and you fix it, like mechanically speaking. So it's easy to just be like, okay, they're missing 5 teeth in their mouth, and I'm going to redesign the structure to be durable, and it's going to last, and like I've saved the day. But they're
well, and especially for what you do, because yours is specifically primarily implant dentistry. So you're not seeing people that are coming in for cleanings. Like you're seeing people where the teeth are either gone or like about to fall out of the head.
Right. Yeah. My specific specialty is most of my patients are missing half or more of their teeth.
Yeah.
And it can vary from every socioeconomic rung on that ladder, super wealthy, super poor, doesn't matter. Like, and so I guess, circling back to like the way that it changed the way I looked at health histories. And then I started going, whoa, there seems to be a lot of trends here. a lot of these medications, I'm listening to my patients a little differently. Instead of like, what can't you eat and what's your problem? It's also like, tell me more about this history. And, like this example a couple weeks ago, a 80-year-old man, I had all my teeth. I didn't have any problems. And then I, had to have a couple stents placed, I was put on blood thinners. And I went to the dentist 6 months later and they told me I had to take all my teeth out. It's like, what happened there? Right. So clearly there's something with that medication.
Yeah.
But also, like, what changed in their diet? Why did they go for 60 years of their life without heart problem? It's like there's just this like
diet or movement or
right.
something's going on internally that someone's missing.
Yeah, it's starting to focus on root cause, right? Versus symptoms and treatments for those symptoms.
Yeah.
So, that's just an example. It's something I'm sure, like, I can't wait to explore more, is like the oral health part of this. Yeah. And, from my lens, and then Heather's lens with all the different topics that you're, an expert on. And I think we're really excited to share all these topics. I mean, I feel like I've learned more about health and even like dentistry. As much or more I've learned from non-dental people now that I've been willing to kind of like look for information outside of the traditional sources.
Yeah. And I think that has been such an evolution for you. I think I've always been if everyone's going this way, let's go the other way in some ways.
Yeah.
But, it really is, you went through 4 years of dental school, 3 years of residency, 4 years of practice before you even went into residency. It's a lot of
brainwashing.
I was trying to think of not brainwashing. It's a lot of like dogma and, and you're, at first you're trying to just survive, right? You're like a brand new baby dentist and you're just like, I have to do the things that I've been taught. And it takes a while, I think, sometimes when everyone is telling you to not look anywhere else, for you to be like, wait, but the things that I'm seeing maybe don't add up. So, it was definitely, it's like been a really interesting evolution, for you personally, for us as a couple, and like raising a family. I think it's been really interesting. Our conversations have changed so much. And I think for a long time, I think you would agree, like for a long time, it was kind of like me being like, this stuff matters. Like, we're going to cook our food and we're not just, I wasn't always good about cooking. Actually, that's been an evolution, but you would have some symptom and I would be like, maybe a vitamin would help, or maybe, stuff like that. Just like this is happening because you haven't slept in 4 days or stuff like that. And I think once you had your health kind of got checked, and then you did, your couple years of integrative and biological dentistry, and it was just a total shift in where it was me kind of like trying to drag you along. And you're very health conscious, so you were always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like, yes, I'm supportive, but also you had this kind of like training that I think held you back from fully believing in the whole holistic side. I think, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but and then once you started that training, it was really like, really now it's like you're not leading the ship or driving the ship or whatever, however you say that. Captaining.
I don't know.
Yeah. But it's like, it's changed completely. And we're really doing it together, or sometimes you're definitely, driving us forward in the health direction. So, because you also have, like a history, the entire medical and dental history behind learning that as well. So, I think it's been really wonderful for us. I mean, I'm so grateful that you did that training, because it's changed the health of our family, and just like, it's really opened up health in a new way for us. And it's felt really good.
it's like we say that we look at things through this holistic lens, and it's interesting because I think a lot of teachings historically focused on like diet and food, and like a lot of these like core tenets of what we've discovered are like what really yields ultimate health. But then it's gotten kind of replaced with pharmacology and
treating symptoms.
And I would argue we've let go of the foundation to like focus on what's new and upcoming. The foundation is, of well-being is really these things that were probably practiced centuries ago.
Yeah.
And everyone, relied on these things to live and thrive.
Yeah.
And for sure, dental curriculums are great. Educational curriculums are great. Like they serve a purpose. They give you the foundation. They allow you to like practice and not get sued. They give you a good blueprint for managing someone that's got a problem and helping them, right? But like, never stopping your learning. I think, that's where I feel like there's so many things I've recently learned that should be in like foundational dental training.
Yes.
The reality is they're probably not going to be anytime soon. So just going to be sharing this message with other people interested in healthcare, whether they're any field really, is like, this was not something that someone told me. Like I think you saw somebody on a podcast, a dental person that was talking about stuff. You sent it to me. I listened to it and I was like, wow, that's cool. I am into like this health stuff. And this is another dental specialist.
Right. That's how I planted the seed.
Yeah. You trapped me or tricked me but it was perfect. It was like sometimes, even though I've been hearing it for you for 7 or 8 or 9 years, then I hear it from one of my like-minded, like, hey, someone that also went to a residency and is board certified.
Yes.
It opens the door sometimes for like, so hopefully that's something I think I could share through like a platform like this and other platforms is like, it's good. You'll be glad you did this to like open your perspective, bring in these new informations, and really you'll help your patients better. They're like, there's more and more awareness about these things. I think people are realizing that, the pill doesn't save you from your problems. It's like, you got to do something more, something else.
I hope so. I think we're very, at this point, it's once you've learned something and you dive deep into it, it feels like everyone else also knows it. And I think that they don't. I mean, I think there is more awareness, which is wonderful. But I think there's still a lot of people who aren't connecting, what they're putting in their mouth to whether their teeth are falling out and getting cavities, or whether they're having a heart problem or migraines or eczema, all these things like that is, and it's not just food. I think it's important to say, you are a oral healthcare provider, so food is really like a baseline. It's obviously a baseline for me, and I think it's near impossible to be healthy without having a healthy foundation of food. But kind of like we've talked about, like movement, lifting weights or cardio or whatever your movement is, like that's very important to physical health. Spirituality, or believing in some higher purpose, having some connection, friends, your marriage, your relationships, all of that plays into your health. Having a purpose. I mean, those are all things that are a part of feeling healthy, so, and part of a holistic lifestyle. I think if we're gonna, and I think over these next episodes, or as we keep making episodes of this, things that we'll touch on, because finances, that was one you talked about. I think, all of those things play into your stress, how you feel about yourself, and all of that is really important to your health. So, food is the baseline, but I don't want anyone to be confused that this is just like, I don't think that that's the only piece.
For sure. Yeah. Food, supplements, exercise, meditation, family. I think you touched on them all. And I think this is an opportune time to like explore this. having just come through a pandemic where
Mm-hmm.
I think, so maybe like the awareness isn't there, like you said, like, but maybe people's willingness to like listen in on like,
Yes.
because I think a lot of people notice that, okay, when we were in a pandemic, pharmacology didn't save anyone. It was, well, do you have like, the 4 comorbidities? Well, you're in trouble if you do.
Right.
It was really like, how healthy are you? That's was a big difference maker in that scenario. So now's a great time to like use that momentum and hopefully share all the information that we're learning, and learn from people that we talk with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what one thing we have in common is like we want to learn. So we plan to like bring people on, visit with other people, and learn, right? And I'm sure like through this process, there's things I believe right now that will change.
Sure.
And that's all good. That's all part of the evolution, So it's fun. And, we mentioned we have 3 young boys, so it's fun to, they're not our experimental test dummies, but no, but it's fun to.
Parenting is kind of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to. Our kids know a ton about nutrition and eating, and they're super healthy. They've never had a cavity. They're not bragging. It's like, but these things work. Like we are seeing like the fruits of our labor, or whatever you want to say. Like and so that's fun to share because currently, like cavities have not gone away. They are
they're
way worse than ever. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that, as you taught me, you will be able to help explain how to read ingredient labels, and that can translate into like health topics. And there's lots of fun stuff we can talk about. So.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so next time we're going to be talking about.
I don't know. We have like a list of.
I think we should talk about alcohol.
Okay.
It's a hot topic.
Alcohol. Right.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun one. I had somebody yesterday look me in the eye and go, he's like, so wait, you don't drink at all? I was like, no. And that's like a kind of, a couple of years in for me, but like, that's fun. I look forward to talking about that.
Yeah.
We can talk about alcohol and its effect on health and our personal experiences and, some of the things that led us to make some changes in our life and what we've experienced.
Yeah. We have lots of good topics. I think sleep we're going to talk about, maybe definitely oral health. Mm-hmm. Mouthwash was one.
Yeah. Mouthwash, mouth taping, flossing.
Mouth taping, flossing.
Toothpaste ingredients for sure. We're into that. Like just like our nutritional labels on our food. What's in your toothpaste because you're ingesting it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It'll be fun. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's the end of the first episode.
Yeah, like our kids say, like and subscribe, share with your friends. Let us know what you think. I feel like they're so much better at that message, but yeah. All right. Thanks for being here.
That's a wrap.